the camera's focusing on me. I just had to like change the mode or whatever. But that is besides the point. We are doing my September book haul. I need a calendar. I never know what month it is in the videos that I'm filming. But this month I did good, and a lot of these books came to me secondhand, rather it be from family members, thrift stores, indie bookstores. The indie bookstore is kind of a secondhand. The ones I got anyway, I bought secondhand, but they also have new books as well. But let's get into it. The first stack that I'm going to show y'all is probably going to be the least interesting to people watching BookTube, but these are ones my dad picked up for me. Again, these are used, I think you'll be able to tell. So the first one is The Battle of Britain, 5 Months That Changed History, May to October 1940 by James Holland. These World War II books, I'm not going to go into what they're about because it is pretty self-explanatory by the title. Next we have At Dawn We Slept, The Untold Story of Pearl Harbor by Gordon W. Prange. And we have Day of Infamy by Walter Lord. This was actually, I'm pretty sure, yeah, a Book of the Month Club selection. So I'm just going to show y'all what their little stamp used to look like. Oh, it's definitely not gonna focus with this new mode I have on here, but in that top corner it says Book of the Month Club selection. Now, World War II isn't my big era war that I'm very interested in learning about. Yeah, I want to know some things, but it's not the sweet spot for me. And that is World War I, and I got this nice, still in plastic wrap, deckled edges, and this is The First World War by John Keegan. So World War I is one that I really do want to learn about. We have Midway, The Battle That Doomed Japan by Mitsuo Fushida and Masataka Okiyama of the Imperial Japanese Navy. And we have Saving Private Ryan, a novel by Max Allan Collins based on the screenplay by Robert Rodat. I never thought about who did the screenplay for Saving Private Ryan. I've only seen bits and pieces of that movie. Yeah, it's one of those popular movies that might not live up to the hype. I don't know. I mean, it might live up to the hype, but I'm intimidated by it. And then we have 2 Star Wars books, and that is Star Wars The Last Jedi by Jason Fry, and this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. And lastly, in that stack, we have Kenobi by John Jackson Miller. So the Star Wars The Last Jedi, that is the novelization of the movie, when this book is what the show Kenobi is based on, to my understanding. Not 100% certain though. Let's move on to another bag here. We'll keep the theme with Star Wars and even... Oh, no, never mind. I totally thought I was pulling out a different book. So this is a new release that came out this month, one of my most anticipated of the year, and I really need to pick it up sometime soon. And that is Carrie Soto Is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. In this powerful novel about the cost of greatness, a legendary athlete attempts to come back when the world considers her past her prime. That's Carrie Soto. We have I'm not sure if this is contemporary or romance, but That Summer by Jennifer Weiner. I really loved Mrs. Everything by this author. It was one of my favorite books last month, so I wanted to pick up more of her books, and I was able to get this 20% off. Daisy Shoemaker can't sleep. With a thriving business, a full schedule of volunteer work, a husband, a daughter, and a beautiful home in the Philadelphia suburbs, she should be content, not lying awake at night wondering if this is it. When Daisy starts receiving misdirected emails meant for a woman named Diana Starling, whose email address is just 1 punctuation mark off, she's enthralled by the glimpses of Diana's glamorous, sophisticated existence. But it turns out that Diana isn't who she says she is, and that her meeting with Daisy wasn't an accident. Diana is looking to set an old wrong right without harming her new friend. From the manicured main line of Philadelphia to the wild beaches of the Outer Cape, Jennifer Weiner delivers a smart, timely, funny story of 2 strangers who find they can only move forward by confronting their shared past. And not really that floppy, but I feel like it could get there. In September, I was really focusing on reading thrillers. And I should say, these are all the books I have this month that I haven't read, because I have read some of the other books that I followed this month. But be sure to subscribe to see my vlogs, because I talk about every single book I read in a video. And this is The House on Vesper Sands by Pariak O'Donnell. London, 1893. High up in a house on a dark snowy night, a lone seamstress stands by a window. So begins the swirling serpentine world of Pariak O'Donnell's Victorian-inspired mystery. The story of a city cloaked in shadow but burning with questions. Why does the seamstress jump from the window? Why is a cryptic message stitched into her skin? And how is she connected to a rash of missing girls, all of whom seem to have disappeared under similar circumstances? Now, I am learning I'm not a huge thriller person, so maybe a historical thriller will be better for me than modern day contemporary ones. Fantasy pick I got at Barnes & Noble this month is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. And I am not seeing a description anywhere on this, but it just says the author's book reimagines the rise to power of the Ming Dynasty's founding emperor. And this is published by Tor. We have my book of the month pick now, and that is The Attic Child, Two Children Separated by Almost a Century Bound by a Secret by Lola J. A riveting dual narrative of love, loss, and identity, centering on two children separated by decades who, bound by a secret, find themselves locked away in the same attic years apart. This is a historical epic, and just if you say something is a historical epic, I'm going to pick it up. But I love a London setting, and then dual timelines is one of my favorite tropes or literary devices. I'm not exactly sure what you would consider that, but I do love them. The book that I'm about to show you was longlisted for the Booker Prize. I have not actually checked the shortlist, or maybe I did and don't remember, but I know this book was getting a lot of high praises, and that is Night Crawling by Layla Motley. And this was also in Oprah's book club, and it was on sale, so that justified me buying a hardback for it being 30% off. A dazzling novel about a young black woman who walks the streets of Oakland, a debut that announces a blazingly original voice. And this author is quite young. She doesn't say here, but I do know she is a young adult. She's around my age, and to have a book with such high praise at that age and a debut novel is amazing. Also at Target, I noticed this book. So now Target has a book club, and that is on there. You cannot get that off. And this is, I did get this on sale as well for 20% off, and this is Songbirds by Christy Leftieri. So this author has a few other well-known books like The Beekeeper of Aleppo. I am diving into her work now, but living on the island Cyprus, Nisha is far from her native Sri Lanka. Though she longs to return home, she knows that working as a maid for a wealthy widow is the only way to earn enough to support her daughter, left behind to be raised by relatives. Then we have the Star Wars book, because I got really confused on what I was reading next, because I finished the Old Republic books, legend ones anyway, and I don't think there are any canon ones. So I'm going into the next time era in the Star Wars universe, so I got confused for a minute of where I'm supposed to go next, and I thought this book was it, but it's not, and I already had the book that I'm going to next. But this is Padawan by Kirsten White, so I would get to this eventually anyway. And we know I love Obi-Wan Kenobi, as we have seen other Obi-Wan Kenobi books in this haul, so I'm down to read anything by him. I don't imagine him having blue eyes, so does Ewan McGregor have green eyes? I feel like he has green eyes, but when here, Obi-Wan has blue eyes. Someone said being a Padawan would be easy, but should it be this hard? So it's just about Obi-Wan's time being a Jedi Padawan. We have my book of the month add-on, and that is Girl Forgotten by Karen Slaughter. I found out that you should read the author's other book first, so I'm kind of upset about that it didn't really say that anywhere, but it is recommended that you read her other book, so that book will be featured in a vlog sometime soon. But this is from the best-selling author of Pieces of Her, That's It. Comes an electrifying thriller featuring a newly minted U.S. Marshal, Andrea Oliver, as she investigates a cold case with links to her father's past. So a girl with a secret in 1982, an unsolved murder which is happening in the present day, and one final chance to uncover a killer. In a Goodreads giveaway, I won an ARC, and that is Roses in the Mouth of a Lion by Bushara Rahman. So this is in the vein of On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, an unforgettable story about female friendship and queer love in a Muslim American community. And this book comes out in December of 2022, being published by Flatiron Books. Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay was one that I tried to find at Barnes & Noble last month, but they just didn't have it in stock at my store. This is a horror. I really think if you like Stranger Things, then you might like this one. So a cleverly voiced psychological thriller about an unforgettable and unsettling friendship with blood-chilling twists, crackling wit, and a thrumming pulse in its veins from the nationally best-selling author of The Cabin at the End of the World and Survivor Song. This is my contemporary pick. I do think that is very loosely, but on Goodreads it is listed as a contemporary, and that is The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. So Vincent is a bartender at the Hotel Cayette, a 5-star lodging on the northernmost tip of Vancouver Island. On the night she meets Jonathan Alakitis, a hooded figure scrawls a message on the lobby's glass wall. Why don't you swallow broken glass? High above Manhattan, a greater crime is committed. Alakitis is running an international Ponzi scheme, moving imaginary sums of money through clients' accounts. When the financial empire collapses and it obliterates countless fortunes and devastates lives, Vincent, who has been posing as Jonathan's wife, walks away into the night. Years later, a victim of the fraud is hired to investigate a strange occurrence. A woman has seemingly vanished from the deck of a container ship between ports of call. I do know this author is very popular. Tell me, is this the book that I should start with their work? Because I haven't read any of it, but I want to read all of it. So tell me where I should start and if The Glass Hotel is a good starting place. We have a new release now. This is by Maggie O'Farrell, The Marriage Portrait, right here. I read Hamnet by this author earlier this year, and initially reading it, I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like it either. I was just like, this is fine, but I think this is an overhyped book. The writing is trying too hard. It's trying to be poetic or just overly written. I kept thinking about it and thinking about it, so I finally did unhaul it. I gave it to my grandma, and then I was like, I'm still thinking about this book all the time, so I feel like I shouldn't have unhauled it. So I took it back from her, but if she ever wants to borrow it, my books are open to my whole family, so if they ever want to borrow a book, they can. So I took it back, and I will reread it at some point, but that is why I'm giving this book a chance. One of the reasons why, but it is about a Medici, and the Medici are my favorite family to learn about in history, and there's not a whole lot of historical fiction on them. If there is, it's usually on Catherine or Caterina, if we want to go with the Italian. But I want to know about other members of the family other than just one woman. I want to know about everybody, and that is why I picked up The Marriage Portrait. From the author of the New York Times bestseller Hamnet, winner of the National Book Critics Circle Award and the Women's Prize for Fiction, an electrifying new novel set in Renaissance Italy and centered on the captivating young Duchess, Lucrezia de' Medici. Last month, I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and surprisingly, I gave it a 5 out of 5. It was the best romance book that I've read this year, so I want to give some of her other books a go, so I picked up People We Meet on Vacation. Again, I got this one on sale. Poppy and Alex and Poppy. They have nothing in common. She's a wild child. He wears khakis. She has she has wanderlust, let's say that. He prefers to stay home with a book, and somehow, ever since a fateful car share home from college many years ago, they're very best friends. For most of the year, they live far apart. She's in New York City, and he's in their small hometown, but every summer for a decade, they've taken one glorious week of vacation together. I am aware in other countries this does have a different name. I cannot remember it off the top of my head, but in your country, if you cannot find People We Meet on Vacation, there is another name and cover for this book. I don't know why they did that. That's kind of strange, because, I don't know, I feel like I've never really seen that with any other books other than Harry Potter, but there's that. As I said, I went to the indie bookstore over the weekend, and I got this big chunky hardback for only $7.97. So this is Edge of Eternity by Ken Follett, book 3 of the Century Trilogy. I've only read the first book, but it is impossible to find like large print editions of these books. No, this isn't like officially large print, but I'm saying it's hard to find editions that are not the mass market paperback. And personally, I prefer to read bigger printed books, and I would prefer paperback, but again, it's very hard to find these books in anything other than mass market paperback. So I haven't, as I said, I haven't read the second book, so I'm not going to read y'all the description of this book, but by the cover I think you can tell some things about it. We have the White House, one of the Apollo rockets, and Vietnam. So to give y'all an idea there. At the indie bookstore, which is called The Nook in Hartsville, South Carolina, by the way, if you're curious and want to go there, I got Flight 232 by Lawrence Gonzalez, a story of disaster and survival. So this is a nonfiction about a plane crash. It's 25 years after the catastrophe, a dramatic and extraordinarily rare 360-degree view of the crash of a fully loaded jumbo jet. Ooh, I wouldn't call a DC-10 a jumbo jet, but I didn't write this. But I watched a documentary on this way back when I was like in middle school, and it is one that I very vividly remember. My dad remembers when this crash happened back in the 80s, and I've been to the city where it takes place, and yeah, so this was $6.97, by the way. I went to Goodwill as well, and I always have a hard time finding books at Goodwill. They're just either religious books, self-help, cookbooks, that kind of thing, and that's not what I read. And I finally found a book at Goodwill, and that is My Life So Far by Jane Fonda. So this is Jane Fonda's autobiography, her memoir. I think she's such a fascinating woman, a woman that I look up to, and I can't wait to learn more about her life and her experiences. You've made it to the last book, guys. This is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. This is the Unplugged Book Box book that I got this month. While in college in New York, Shay Evans and her best friends met a captivating man who seduced them with a web of lies about the way the world works, bringing them under his thrall. By senior year, Shay and her friend Laurel were the only ones who managed to escape. Now, 8 years later, Shay's built a new life in a Tony, Texas suburb, but when she hears the horrifying news of Laurel's death, delivered of always by her favorite true crime podcast crusader, she begins to suspect that the past she thought she buried is still very much alive, and the predators more dangerous than ever. So this is a thriller. And I know this author's last book, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, was quite popular. If you made it through this whole video, leave the knife emoji down in the comments. I'm going to be proud of y'all if you made it through this whole video, because it was a long one. But as always, comment, rate, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!